I chose my business over my son's baseball games. His Hall of Fame speech made me cry. I, 56M, sat in the audience at Cooperstown yesterday, tears streaming down my face as my son gave his Hall of Fame induction speech. 25 years of regret hit me all at once when he spoke about his childhood. I wasn't prepared for what he would say, and now I can't stop replaying it in my mind. Back in the late 90s, I was building my tech company from scratch. Anyone who lived through the dot-com boom knows how crazy those times were. Every day felt like a race against time. If you weren't moving fast enough, someone else would beat you to market. I had remortgaged our house, maxed out credit cards, and borrowed money from everyone who would lend it. The pressure was immense. I still remember the day I started my company. I was working from our garage, coding until 3 a.m. while my wife brought me coffee and reminded me to eat. My son was 8 then, always wanting to show me his baseball cards or tell me about his little league games. I'd absently nod, eyes glued to the monitor, promising just 5 more minutes that turned into hours. The first 2 years were brutal. I'd wake up at 5 a.m., drive to pitch meetings across the state, come back to code, then repeat. My wife handled everything else, the house, the bills, our son's school and activities. She never complained, but I'd sometimes catch her looking at me with a mixture of worry and disappointment. My son was 12 when things really started taking off. He was showing real talent in baseball, making the travel team and turning heads at every game. My wife would send me videos of his plays, but I was always too busy to watch them. The videos piled up in my inbox, unwatched testimonies to my absence. I remember one particular day that haunts me. He had a championship game, and I promised I'd be there. But that morning, a major potential investor called wanting an immediate meeting. In my mind, this meeting could make or break the company. I chose the meeting. We got the investment, but I missed watching my son pitch a no-hitter and win the championship. My wife said he kept looking at the empty seat where I was supposed to be. That night, I tried to make it up to him. I brought home an expensive gaming console, the one he'd been asking for all year. He thanked me politely and went to his room. Later, I overheard him telling my wife, I just wanted him to see me pitch. She tried to explain about my work, but he cut her off. Dad's always working. He doesn't care about baseball. Those words should have been my wake-up call. They weren't. The pattern continued through his high school years. I'd catch maybe 1 game out of 10, always sitting there with my laptop or phone, half watching while responding to emails. When he made varsity as a freshman, I sent my congratulations through my wife. When he broke the state strikeout record his junior year, I heard about it from his coach at a parent-teacher conference. I convinced myself I was doing the right thing. The company was growing exponentially, and every success felt like validation. We moved to a bigger house. My wife drove a luxury car. My son had the best equipment money could buy, but I was missing the fundamental truth. None of it mattered to a kid who just wanted his father in the stands. The summer before his senior year, things came to a head. He had a crucial game with scouts attending. I promised, absolutely promised, I would be there. But an emergency board meeting came up. A competitor was threatening our market position, and the board wanted immediate action. I sent my wife a text saying I couldn't make it. She didn't respond. That evening, I came home late to find my son sitting alone in the dark living room. He didn't look up when I walked in. 3 scouts, he said quietly. 3 Division I scouts. Coach said they were impressed. He finally looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'll never forget. Not anger, but acceptance. He had finally accepted that this was who I was, who I would always be. I got offered a full ride to Stanford, he continued. I wanted you to be the first to know, but I guess you'll be the last. As usual. He stood up and walked past me. I wanted to stop him, to explain, to promise to do better. But what could I say that I hadn't said before? The company went public in 2005, and suddenly all those sacrifices seemed worth it. We could afford anything, live anywhere. But money couldn't buy back those moments I missed. It couldn't erase the look in my son's eyes that night. He went to Stanford, breaking records and making headlines. I watched his games on TV when I could, always meaning to fly out and see him play in person. But there was always another meeting, another crisis, another reason to stay at the office. When he got drafted in the first round, I wasn't at the draft. I was closing a major acquisition deal. I watched on my phone as he hugged his mother, his girlfriend, his college coach. The empty space beside them felt like an accusation. I started attending more games when he made it to the majors, when my presence wasn't as crucial to him anymore. I watched from expensive seats as he worked his way through the minors and into the majors. His mother never missed a game, always sitting in the family section. I joined when I could, but old habits die hard. Over the years, Our relationship remained cordial but distant. He'd come to holiday dinners, we'd talk about his stats and contract negotiations, but there was always this unspoken thing between us. I knew I had failed him during those crucial years. When he got married, I gave a short toast at his wedding. I talked about how proud I was, how successful he'd become, his best man. His high school baseball coach gave a speech about watching him grow up, about being there for every triumph and disappointment. I sat there realizing this man knew my son better than I did. When his first child was born, I visited them at the hospital. My son was holding his daughter, looking at her with such love and determination. I'm going to be there for every moment, he told his wife, not looking at me. Every single moment. I understood the promise he was really making. Through his major league career, I tried to make up for lost time. I bought a private box at his home stadium. I watched every game I could, studied his stats, learned to appreciate the finer points of pitching. But I was learning these things 20 years too late. Yesterday, standing at that podium in Cooperstown, he talked about his journey. He mentioned his high school coach who never missed a game, his mother who drove him to every practice, and then he talked about me. My father taught me something important, though not in the way he intended, he said. He showed me exactly what kind of father I wanted to be to my own kids. Every game I missed due to injury hurt twice as much because I knew what it felt like to have an empty seat in the stands. I promised myself my children would never know that feeling. He paused then, looking right at me. But he also taught me about redemption. It's never too late to show up, to try to make things right. Dad, I saw you at every game after I made it to the majors. I saw you trying. And I want you to know that while you missed a lot of games, you never missed the chance to come back. I completely broke down. My wife squeezed my hand as our son continued his speech, talking about his own children now, and how he never misses their games, even if he has to watch them on FaceTime during road trips. The company I built was eventually sold for billions. I'm considered a success story in the tech world. But sitting there yesterday, listening to my son, I realized success is measured in moments, not millions. He found it in his heart to forgive me, but I'm still working on forgiving myself. Last night, after the ceremony, he invited me to his house. His kids were playing baseball in the backyard. He stood there watching them, then turned to me and said, "Want to help me coach them?" It's never too late to learn the game. I couldn't speak, just nodded. As I watched him teaching his daughter how to grip a baseball, I thought about all the moments I'd missed. But maybe, just maybe, I haven't missed my chance to be there for the next generation. My grandchildren won't know the man I was, only the man I'm trying to become. To any parent out there grinding to build something, thinking you're doing it for your kids, they don't need your success nearly as much as they need your presence. No championship ring can fill the empty seat in the stands. No amount of money can buy back those precious moments of childhood. My son is going into Cooperstown, and I'm proud beyond words. But I would trade all my success just to go back and sit in those bleachers, watching him play Little League ball on a sunny afternoon. Since I can't do that, I'll honor his forgiveness by being the grandfather I should have been as a father. Sometimes the best way to make up for lost time is to make the most of the time we have left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.